What's up, nerds? Welcome to this special roundtable discussion. It's not a really round table, it's just the two of us. A square table? A
Straight line
rectangular
table?
table?
Who knows if there's a table?
There's no table. We're just shooting, we're just standing in the alley, just shooting the breeze. We are here to talk today a little bit about representation in the Marvel universe and in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Spurred on by the breaking news in the last about 24 hours or so that the upcoming comic series, The United States of Captain America, is going to unveil a Native American Captain America seen here. Joe Gomez, who is a member of the Kickapoo tribe, which is the most badass Native American tribe name on the planet. Joe Gomez was created by an Apache writer and a First Nations artist. The beginning of this, I wasn't sure how I was supposed to read it. I don't know. There's a lot of things. Anyway, I'm gonna pull a Jerry here and be like, I'm not reading that name. But at any rate, created by Native Americans for this series. So, before we get into this, check out our other videos on the channel at youtube.com/themnerds on YouTube. Don't forget to check us out on social media at WeThemNerds on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and subscribe. We'll be friends with you. Anyway, so this comic book series it's called United States of Captain America. There was a big kerfuffle. One might even say it caused an uproar on the internet because, as we know, the internet cannot get any news about anything being different without melting down. But we got this news, I don't know how long ago it was, a month ago, 2 months ago, that they were going to introduce a person in this series who they referred to as the LGBTQ Captain America. People lost their collective, you know what. He's not Captain America, guys. He's just going to be in this series. I don't know. Were you involved in this internet drama?
Yeah, I saw it. I just think that it's a moot point. Like, really, at the end of the day, people quickly want to erase the idea that there's any others in this world, in this country, and that you better realize, for as often as you watch a movie and anytime two guys get close to each other, suddenly the fandom's like, oh my God, they're boyfriends. That tells you there's a large population of comic book, enjoying people out there that also identify in the LGBTQ community, plus A.
Plus, yes, all the I's and A's and other various letters. So let's talk for a second about Marvel's efforts at representation. We've gotten, obviously, we just came off of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was fantastic. So good. It was fantastic. See, it's right there on my shirt. Totally different comic thing. Anyway, and the whole point of the show was this idea. Well, I shouldn't say the whole point of the show, but an overarching theme of the show, and a very important theme of the show, was the idea about whether or not a black man could be Captain America. We had Isaiah Bradley, who was shunned in that role back in the World War II to Korea era. And then we had Sam Falcon, who became Captain America, but he even had shunned the idea of being Captain America. At the end of the day, we ended up with a black Captain America. Do you think that's the end of that story?
No, because immediately
the world is going to be like, yay!
Well, the next day after that aired, I was already watching other YouTubers and everybody else who were, as quickly as that show was given to Sam, or the mantle was owned by Sam, people were already saying, lining up their next list of 5 white characters they would like to see have it.
Right. Like in the comic books, if Steve Rogers isn't Captain America, it's Sam Wilson. He's been Captain America probably the most other than Steve Rogers. Am I wrong?
No.
People love comic book action but they hate the idea that comic books can reflect real life in any way.
Yeah.
I don't
I
get it.
think that there's an issue with fandom in general. I mean, if there's any genre out there that has any amount um of fan base, like a huge fan base where people are very loyal to it, there's a light read of racism that flows within it also. Don't get me wrong, they enjoy black characters within the stories and everything else, but they cannot see past the characters they were given. They can't see them take on a mantle. It's very similar, like, you know, another fandom out there that's out there is the drag community. They do the same thing to people. They can't, the people who get the worst the hate out there are the black queens that are out there representing, you know, cosplayers. You'll see cosplayers out there that get the same kind of issues that
Right.
you see black women dressing up as white characters and people want to hate on it.
Right.
So it's like, you know, people have to be able to open up their minds at the idea that it really doesn't matter what you're looking at. I also agree, you know, and I've said it plenty of times on here, that I do think that it's an easy fix just to say you are now Iron Man or you are now
Right.
Captain America, when you really should be focusing on building really great characters out there that represent all communities.
Right. And in Marvel, there was a huge like groundswell of support and pride and just sort of positive energy around Black Panther. And I think it's because, you know, we had a black man being the star of the show, you know, really like there, and he wasn't like, you know, it wasn't a stereotype in any way. But here's the thing, and we talked about this on our very first ever show. We talked about Black Panther. Black Panther is not an African American. Black Panther is a man from Africa.
Yes.
And that does not go far enough in explaining the African American experience. And it doesn't go far enough in equating what an African American man would have to do to be accepted on that level of heroism.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
which is the whole basis of the Black Panther. You know, it's this idea that when they come here to America and they see the way that that their ancestors were treated, and then subsequently their descendants have been treated, that's why they feel like they have to step in to show them you have the ability to be a lot bigger than what your country has said you are supposed to be.
Right.
So I also just think that if ever you see a character don a costume of a famous white, you know, superhero out there that you like, that you love, and the first thing you say out of your mouth is they're trying to force it down our throat, you already know what the problem is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It's not force feeding you.
Because I think I don't know, maybe I'm stirring the pot a little bit here, but I think I'm pretty right on with this. I think if they would have been like, oh, Winter Soldier is going to become Captain America, I don't think there would have been the amount of issue.
No.
Because
that man was a Russian spy.
Right. Yeah. He's not American at all. He's a dirty commie. But yeah, dude, like that was one of those things. And like the comics have been really guilty of this for a long time. And I would say like in the last 20 years, it started to change a lot. But, you know, we look at Shang-Chi, which is going to be coming out this year, going to have an Asian American character starring in the film. If you look back at the comic book roots of Shang-Chi, his dad was Fu Manchu, who had like the stereotypical little thin mustache and the really like beady, like mad look all the time, like very like as if the audience doesn't know what an Asian person is. And so they have to be like, here's a stereotype, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we got in the 70s with black characters too. Because who are the two? Yeah, who are the two biggest black Marvel characters in the 70s? In my estimation, Luke Cage and Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Right? Well, one of them, Black Panther, he's from Africa. So you don't have to address the idea of the African American experience because he's not an African American. He's from some distant land. And they have like, you know, like we talk about the Dora Milaje and the beating of the drums. Like every time he walks in, it's like, and he's got the bone necklace, you know, like very like that's Africa. And then what Luke Cage came out and he's got the very like blaxploitation kind of thing going on. Right.
Yeah, that's what it's the idea that they could maybe do something that's a little bit out of the box for Black Panther, but the idea that this African American has to look like he's, straight out of Party City, the pimp line.
Well, what's his origin? Where'd he come from? Yeah. Where was he before he became Luke Cage?
Oh, he's from Harlem. Here you go.
And jail.
Jail.
He was in jail.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like a Miles Morales, right? Which is a character that we've gotten in the last few years. By the way, we've talked about this on the show a lot. The idea of like taking a character and making it something different instead of just being like, oh yeah, here, you're Spider-Man now. Like Miles Morales is a perfect example of like, no, they built a character from scratch. Yes, he's Spider-Man, but it's a totally different situation. But like,
well, it's also a representation of who's in your writing room.
Yeah.
So Miles Morales is a good representation of what it is to be, considered to be Afro-Latino in America, because Afro-Latinos are writing the comic. Right. Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, is a great representation of how it is to be a Muslim American in America, because Muslim Americans are writing that comic.
Right. And the show is going to be written and directed by Muslim Americans.
They're not going to allow you to make a caricature of what you think is in that community. They're actually putting out there real representations of real people that they see every day, that they grew up with every day, that are inside their families. And that's why you're bonding to it. It's the same reason why people had such a closeness to the Fantastic Four when it first started. You know what I mean? Stan Lee and, Jack Kirby and all these people who wrote, they're writing real experiences that they've had because they were white men writing comics.
Right.
So it only makes sense that you need to make sure that it's the same. It's really just the balance of Hollywood and entertainment altogether. You know what I mean? I oftentimes have the same issue that, being Black and watching these movies or hearing announcements that come out where I've known a typical white character like Johnny Storm, being recasted by Michael B. Jordan. It gives me the same kind of feeling when I watch the news and I hear there's a shooting and I have to automatically, please God, don't let me be a Black person. You know what I mean? It's because I know the hatred that will come from that character being cast is the same way, because the people hear it and that's as far as they can hear past it. Right. So, it's just the same heat that we're going to start hearing in the next few weeks when they announce who the new Black Superman is going to be.
Right.
So,
well, and there's a lot of drama around that whole Superman situation, because there is a Black Superman in the comic books. The idea that they want this new Superman to be the Kal-El version of Superman, but they want it to be a Black actor, is causing a lot of people to say, well, why don't you just make it be that Superman instead? So we're going to hear drama. It's going to be drama left and right. Let's be honest though. Has Warner Brothers done anything worthwhile with Superman in the last 30 years?
Not that they figure out how to capitalize on.
No. I don't know. That's going to be a circus, the whole lead up to
I think that, what we're seeing is a good thing, that Marvel really is trying to, make sure that there is representation on the screen for everybody to look at and say, it's a really big and impactful thing when you can look at the screen and you see somebody who looks like you. So, having Riri Williams go on there, that's going to affect a lot of young girls out there.
Sure. I love the idea that they're going to have, when people watch, when people turn on Disney Plus and they go to the Marvel section and they look at the recurring shows, right? We're going to see a strong female protagonist in WandaVision. We're going to see a Black man taking on the mantle of Captain America on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're going to see a young Black girl. You're going to see a young Muslim girl. You're going to see all of this kind of, the first view that a lot of people have of Marvel when they turn on Disney Plus and they look at these shows, they're going to be like, oh, being a superhero is for everybody.
Yeah. Well, it's very similar to, a lot of people get so angry, like when they find out, oh, Bobby Drake he's gay. You know what I mean? Well, he's been around for 40 years and he's never been gay before. Why is this? Welcome to the real life stories of 99% of the LGBTQ community.
Right.
A lot of them stay in the closet until they're ready to go ahead and come out of it.
Right.
Who's to say Iceman hasn't been doing the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Iceman was probably on the down low for about 30 years.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's why never mind.
Uh-uh. And I got news for all the people out there that are throwing a fit about it. He doesn't really create ice. No, he's a fictional character.
Yeah.
Who cares what he does?
I thought you because it's more like snow.
Huh?
It's more like snow.
No, I mean, he's not a real thing. He's not a real person. Who cares who he dates?
Yeah, it's just an evolution of the character. I mean, there's also probably a large portion of the reason why the comic books looked the way they did in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, because those were the people who were buying them.
Right. Yes. And, you've got a whole new world with comic books are obviously still where, most of these characters and most of these storylines are born. They're still like culling, content from the comics. But when we talk about like comic book heroes, a lot of them are not even really going to be from the comics anymore. They're going to be written for TV. They're going to be written for the films. And who's going to be watching these films? Not just white guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have, and not only that, you've got a whole different world out there with people buying digital comics, and you've got people accessing this stuff from all different age groups, all different, gender identities, sexualities, racial identities, ethnic identities. Like the idea that you're just going to keep having the same white guys in spandex doing the same things over and over again is stupid.
Yeah, it's similar to like yesterday or the day before that, there was a huge uproar out there about the idea that Brie Larson had been kicked out. She's no longer Captain Marvel. They got rid of her, and they're just going to have the other two characters because people couldn't get past the symbols in the title. Only showed Spectrum symbol and Miss Marvel's symbol, and it's called The Marvels. No, it's the sequel to Captain America. That is your title. Or, no, I'm sorry, Captain Marvel.
Yeah, no,
that is your title. It's like it's everybody. You're just so ready to get angry about something stupid.
Yeah, right. Well, like I'm a white dude. Spoilers. And like the idea that anyone like me would ever be threatened by the idea that the white woman Captain Marvel is going to be joined by black woman Spectrum and Muslim girl Ms. Marvel, and you're going to be like bothered by that, like legitimately that's going to cause you to get on the internet and do this on your keyboard. Like, get a grip.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Now, I do think that, and this is just me, and maybe I'm too woke or something, I don't know, but
Definitely.
I saw the picture and I read the article about the Native American Captain American, and I immediately thought, this is problematic. To me, that's the way I feel about it, because I think to myself, I love the idea that, Marvel, the comic book part of it, went out and they reached out to Native American writers and designers to come up with, something that they felt comfortable as a depiction of themselves on the pages. But I also thought to myself, are we kind of brushing over what has actually been done by these people, that this idea that we are now leaving up to them to somehow be like, oh, now come save us again. You already showed us how to, live off a swampy land. And then after we did that, we murdered you off. But don't worry, 400 years from now, we'll go ahead and give you a $1.85 comic.
Well, see, I understand what you're saying, and the first imagery that has been released by Marvel, which you'll see here on the screen, it's very like, it does have that sort of that twinge of like cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, when you go in the grocery store on Cinco de Mayo and there's like Mexican flags everywhere, and you're like what?
Well, is it just me, like, or because of the fact that, the costume that they put up, I mean, the design of it is very beautiful and everything that they did, but that's your ceremonial costume, of your tribe. Usually it reflects a long history of what's gone on with your people. I would think the last thing you would want it to do is represent colonizers who killed your people off. But I could be wrong on that, and that's fine if that's how they feel about it. I also just feel about this idea that they are monopolizing on this idea that people are going to be like, yeah, this is great that this Native American or this LGBTQ community is being represented. And Marvel's is stuffing their pockets with the money they're going to get from it. Now, if all the funds came from that went to, tribes that are, impoverished in this country, or helping to get clean water, or helping them fight against oil pipelines, or doing this kind of stuff, I'm all for it. Do whatever you got to do. Put whatever comic book you want out. If you want to write a comic book about the LGBTQ Captain America, and you put that money towards funds to make sure trans people aren't being murdered on the street, great. But that's not what's going to happen. Someone's just buying another Skyrise.
It's very possible. Now, the idea behind this, this United States of Captain America series is Captain America's shield gets stolen, and Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson go out across the country, and they they actually team up with Bucky and John Walker, U.S. agent. And in the third issue is when we meet this Native American version. And the idea behind the issue is that there's a cultural landmark that gets targeted, and this version of the tribe's Captain America works with Cap and Sam and Bucky and Walker to figure it out, because it's supposed to be the shield thief, the one who stole the shield in the first place, that did it. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Now, one comment that I saw online that I think might mitigate the whole cultural appropriation sort of thing is, if you look at Cap as a character, and by Cap I'm referring to mostly Steve Rogers, when you look back at Civil War, he was on the side that stood against the government. And he stood for the idea that all men are created equal and everybody is free to live their life as they choose. And he also has had many instances of questioning whether or not the imagery that he wears is appropriate given what has happened in the United States. So the comment was like, yeah, the red, white, and blue might be a little off-putting, but maybe it's because they're honoring Captain America himself. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Thank you, white savior.
Yeah. Thank you, red, white, and blue Jesus. I don't know.
I was going to be mad about 250 years of slavery, but then you were like, hey, you want to put on this made-at-home costume and pretend you're Captain America for a day, and then I'm going to take it back and say, oh, and while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and turn America against you.
Yeah, another day in comic books. I don't know. I do think that it's important that what they're doing. I just think that one's a little cringeworthy, but yet I'm not part of that community, so I don't get to be angry about it. Right. So but I also am a person who wants to support them. So if they don't like it, I don't like it either, and I won't buy it. Well, and that's the thing. Like, as a white dude, like, of course there are things that I see where I'm like, wow, that might be offensive to this group of people, and like I'm a cisgendered heterosexual white male. I am like I'm the devil, I guess. But like, when I see things that I think are going to be problematic for people that I know and people that I care about, like, I'm going to say, like, that might be problematic. You know what I mean? But like you said, like, I don't really have a right to be like mad about it either. I'm not going to be like, how dare you have a black Captain America? I'm so offended as a white man. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And it's also like, if a Native American were to say, I don't necessarily care for this representation, there's no way that I would be like, suck it up. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't get America. Captain America is a white man. Like, I don't get it. I don't get the rage. Like, it's not like Steve Rogers is, being scalped in some sort of racially insensitive, stereotypical way. Like, it's just another dude wearing red, white, and blue trying to fight the good fight, man. Like the gay Captain America or whatever that they're gonna have in this series too. Like, he's just a street kid. He lives on the railroads. He's just trying to be out there keeping his friends safe and surviving and like fighting the good fight. Like, how much of a dick do you have to be mad that there are people in the comic books that are out there doing good things?
I guess pretty. That's not appropriate either.
That's not appropriate.
My comment I was going to make, so I decided not to.
They're all appropriate. Everything's appropriate here. I don't know. Like, in general, I mostly approve of the job that Marvel is doing with their level of representation, and I especially like that they're kind of like retroactively making some of these characters a little more, you know, a little less stereotypical and a little more, you know, like Shang-Chi. They're not going to have they are not having Fu Manchu be his dad in the film. It looks like they maybe are having the Mandarin be his dad, or that maybe he's a
kind of seems like something like that, yeah.
Yeah, or like maybe he was an orphan and the Mandarin was like responsible for him or something. But they're definitely not going that like super stereotypical, like, you know, if, you know, you asked an old white guy to draw an Asian guy, like,
yeah. Well, I also think that it's all about where people have gone in the world. You know, in the 40s, the 50s, when comic books started coming out, a lot of people didn't travel. They didn't know what people, you know, what maybe everybody from around the world looked like. So they resorted to stereotypes to be like, well, these are the stereotypes you've grown up with your whole life thinking these what these people look like. So we're going to rely on that. And so here you go, you know, but so now they don't have to do that anymore because we, you know, not only if people don't travel, you have a TV. If you don't have a TV, you have a computer. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's some way for you to see anything if you want to be able to see it out there.
Yeah, and our country is more multicultural than ever. So if you don't have any of that, you're probably going to see someone in person.
Yeah.
Walking down the street.
So I just think I don't have a problem with it. And if people don't have a problem with it either, then, I mean, I'm a big person also that maybe you got to read what the story is about. And from what the narrative of what the character who's playing the Native American Captain America, you know, it was somebody that the writer respected growing up, and he kind of made him into who Captain America is to him. I don't have a problem with where's that to challenge anything? Like, you know, there's nothing there to challenge. So, but I'm also, you know, going to be like, I'm going to, you know,
right.
I don't know if I'm not going to put the costume on. Just saying.
Not that costume.
No, because I feel like you look at that and that's a very traditional, you know, costume of Native American people, and I wouldn't feel comfortable doing because I don't want to disrespect them. Well, I think that we have to get past this point of, you know, stop making people's culture into a costume.
Right. Well, and I think there might be some value there in having people who are from that culture being at the
design.
They're writing the character, they're drawing the character. Like, you know, it's like, you know, Ryan Coogler being in charge of the next stage of Black Panther. You know, the ending of Black Panther, we had Black Panther kind of moving into the United States and figuring out how to help the Black experience in the United States with the resources they had at their fingertips. Well, how about having an African-American man controlling that, like writing that? That's exactly what I would want, right? Like, people are like, oh, why are they only wanting a female director for these female-driven films? Really?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, here's the deal, guys. From my perspective, if there are people out here feeling good because they are being represented, it doesn't hurt you. Mm-hmm. These are the kinds of things that we should celebrate. The United States is a multicultural place. You know, it's value added. My family's only been here for a couple generations. The kids that I work with regularly, some of them just moved here. And the idea that we can have this kind of representation and this level of feeling like, you know, there's someone out there doing these heroic things that looks like me or sounds like me or talks like me or has the same experience as me. If you don't like that, if that's a problem for you, then get out. That's my take. Anyway, a little heavy for you. So what's coming up, Jerry? Loki's coming up.
Yeah, and it's been moved.
That's right. He's just so tricky, Loki. Moving up a couple days.
Yes. Yeah, I think January or June 9th.
That's right. So as we get up into the events of Loki, you guys will see a lot more Loki related content. I have a video that I'm going to be putting up here very soon about the Time Variance Authority. We're going to be posting lots of speculation about the Loki show and where it's going to go and what it's going to talk about, our wish list for what's going to happen in the show. Excited about it. Can't wait. Also, big news. Jerry and I, we're going to Disneyland. Yeah, pew, 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 pew. We are going to have, we're going to have some content coming your way in about a month and a half or so, all about our time at Disney. We're going to go on some Star Wars stuff. I'm going to build a lightsaber. I don't know if Jerry's going to build a lightsaber. I'm building a lightsaber.
I've got lightsaber money.
I'm going to sell a kidney and do lightsabers.
So kidneys.
Huh?
They don't want them kidneys.
Nobody wants my kidneys. Diabetes, folks. All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this little chat of ours. What are your thoughts about representation in the comics and in the MCU? Let us know below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Be good. Be good to each other.
Stay nerdy.
Later, nerds.